Hey guys, welcome back to Chef Talk and welcome back to my review of Shogun, the miniseries that was shown on Hulu. But due to it being a TV show with multiple directors and writers, I am going to put up now just, a list of all the directors and all the writers. I do not want to mispronounce or butcher these names, but I still want to acknowledge the job that they did on this show. I think everyone deserves to be acknowledged. And then Shogun stars Haruki Sanada as Toranaga, Anna Sawai as Mariko, Tononobu Asano as Yabusigo, Cosmo Jarvis as Anjin, Moiko Hoshi as Fuji, Fumi Nakado as Ochiba no Kara, and Takehiro Hira as Oshido. Shogun has 10 episodes, averaging a runtime of 1 hour per episode. Quick synopsis. After a European ship is shipwrecked in the Japans, an English pilot must navigate through a strange new world while being used as a pawn in the game of power by Lord Toranaga. First and foremost, I just want to say I am a huge fan of James Cavill's Shogun. I've read the novel many times. I'm actually now going to go back now after the miniseries and reread the novel. I'm also a big fan of the 1980s miniseries of Shogun. They both differ in their own ways, and I think you could watch both and still be a big fan of both of these miniseries. I'll probably even go back and watch the original miniseries with Richard Chamberlain, so that way I can see how different it was. This series is not about the overall action. This series is about the writing, the dialogue, the delivery. And this show pretty much nails it. Each episode didn't need a sword fight, didn't need big battles. People having tea could deliver such lines, deliver us so much information that it was impactful, important. You needed to hear this conversation happen to understand what was happening behind the scenes. And another thing that I think was brilliant that they did in this miniseries as well, because we could have simply glorified it and we could have just made it everybody speak English and be like, oh, they're speaking Japanese, but they're not. The simple fact that we had all the Japanese actors speaking Japanese, so that way we were there with Anjin wondering what was going on. Yes, we could read the subtitles, but we had to be there. We had to pay attention. We had to focus on what the Japanese actors were saying, so that way we could understand what was happening in that scene. I think it really brought us into that scene, all the scenes. And speaking of scenery and writing, the cinematography. This is a very Japanese feudal period. And I'm glad we didn't westerify it. I'm glad that they paid attention to details. They tried to get things as close to being perfect as they could, but you could see the love and dedication that they put into making Shogun. Not only with the costumes, the housing, the background scenery, every little detail seemed to take place, they took care of. Being it serving tea, being it, using swords, the correct dialect that was spoken in Japan in that time period. These are details that this show gives us. I think if it was rushed or incomplete or not done, as well as it was done, would have probably not as hit as well as it did this time. And having great writing and great sets would mean nothing if we didn't get actors who seem to understand what the showrunners wanted to get out of this show. If the actors were not as great as they were in this show, it would not have been as big of a success as it was. The actors knew what the showrunners wanted to do with this show. And I think they not only accomplished that, but hit it out of the park. We even have characters like Yabushiki, played by Tadabo Anso, who we see on screen that he is not a good guy. He is trying to find the way that works for him in the scenario that he's put in between big powerhouses. But we come to love him on screen. He provides us with not only, I'm not even going to say comedic, but God, the man had a list of the best ways to die. And we even get to see that towards the end when he's talking to Lord Toranaga at the end of the series, where he's kind of like, giving the Lord Toranaga ways that he would like to die. But, it is just that a character that at first we kind of despise. And I'm going to say we still even hate him throughout the series, but he still just offers that kind of like different perspective than what we normally see from like Lord Toranaga, our Mariko, our Angie-san. And then we do have Mariko, played by Anna Seiwa. And I don't know how I can sing her praises enough. There are episodes that if her performance wasn't on point, would not have been as great as they were. She has at least 3 or 4 probably episodes where her performance was the highlight of the episode. And I hope Hollywood sees how well she is, or how well she's done. She was in Monarch before this. She's in this, in Shogun. I think she's a phenomenal actor, and I can't wait to see what next role she chooses. But really, there were episodes where it was on her shoulder, and I think everybody out there fell in love with Mariko. You can't talk about Shogun without talking about Haruki Sanada and his character Toranaga. The actor is a phenomenal actor, and I don't think he's had enough praises before this show. He's been in a ton of other things, but he put Shogun on his shoulders and he lifted it up above any expectation anybody could have for this show. I did not even think myself that this show would be well received and loved as it was, but I'm going to say it's predominantly on his shoulders and how he took care of not only being one of the producers, but making sure his actors were okay, making sure the sets were good, making sure that the period of Japan that they were shooting in was as close as possible to what the real time frame was. But he, again, as an actor as well, delivered a performance where multiple episodes as well rested on his shoulders. And if we didn't have such a great performance from him, those episodes would not have been as well as they turned out to be. Now, as I've mentioned, I am also a book lover. I've read Shogun. And as we know with Hollywood, with a lot of Hollywood adaptations going from book or some other form of media to the big screen, the small screen, stuff has to be changed. It can never be a 100 to 100. And I agree with that. But there's sometimes when we have showrunners and studios that pick up a property because it is a hot property and then just throw everything that made it that hot property that the fans loved out the window. Shogun does change stuff. It doesn't keep with 100% to the book. It doesn't keep 100% to the miniseries. But I have to say, I embraced the changes that were made. I think the changes that they made didn't really affect the story that was being told by James Clavell in his book or even in the original miniseries. I think they highlighted and tried to be more authentic, and some of the changes had to happen. And that is coming from someone that is definitely would let people know if the source material was not stayed true to, or if the showrunners did a disservice to the show, to the source material. Now, I'm going to get on to what I call my dislikes, but they're not really dislikes. They're probably more likely nitpicks or what I think some people might think of as a dislike. And the first one for me is Cosmo Jarvis. He is a good actor. I think he has some really good performances in Shogun, but I'm sorry, you stepped into the shoes that Richard Chamberlain filled in the 1980s miniseries. And I know it's a disservice to an actor to try to compare him to the predecessors that they are, that followed before them. But man, Richard Chamberlain's performance is above and beyond. It's one of those great performances that he gives us. And Cosmo, he delivers some really great performances in here, or really good performances, but he never really hit like the Toranaga level, the Mariko level. He was in a book that's kind of his POV. He was kind of like the secondary character in this, and I don't mind. We got a more Japanese-focused Shogun than we did in the original miniseries, and I am fine with that 100%. I just think, I don't know, Cosmo Jarvis wasn't 100% for me. And again, these following up is not really my dislikes, but what I can see people kind of complaining about. And since this is very Japanese focused and they are very reliant on speaking Japanese to get you more into that mindset, more into that frame of this is feudal Japan, where you have the actors speak Japanese. I loved it. I don't mind it. I actually started now taking Duolingo again because I've let my Japanese lapse. But I think it was a very authentic way to bring us into the show. But I can see and hear people griping that they have to read and pay more attention to what is going on the screen. I don't mind it, but I know there's going to be some people out there that probably would. And I think my biggest gripe, or not my biggest gripe, but I can see what people are going to gripe about, oops, sorry, hit the mic, is the ending. Again, like I've mentioned before at the beginning, Shogun is not about the battles. So at least this version of Shogun is not about the big battles. We were never going to get that big battle scene at the end. We were never going to get the big fight. And I think the way they did it was handled perfectly. We didn't need to see the outcome. We were told what the outcome was going to be, and we got the good wrap up of not only Anjin-san's journey, but where Toranaga was going to be. And we even got our love for Fuji-sama when she came back and how she wanted to spend the rest of her life. And we settled, or put the people that we lost in this series. I think it was done really well. The writing, once again, was great. The scenes were beautiful. I think a lot of people go and put a stock, though, because we're building up to see something happen at the end, like a battle or someone declare themselves Shogun, and we didn't get that in this scene. I did not mind it. We got told what was going to happen, and that was fine with me. Overall, Shogun, I'm just going to say it, is a masterpiece. We haven't had this type of cinema in a long time. And it shows that we should bring back these miniseries that focuses on 10 episodes of really world building, character building, and giving us not only we don't need the big action sets. This show shows us we don't need these big scenes, these big actions to happen. We can sit there and with great writing, great performances, have a very great show. And that is what we get with Shogun. It is probably one of the best things on television in the last decade. And if you haven't, or if you've been sitting on the fence, now is your time to watch it. All 10 episodes are out. Go to Hulu or whatever other streaming service is on and watch it. Yes, you're going to have to sit there. You're going to have to pay attention. This is not something you put on the background so that way while you're cleaning the house or you're talking to your friends or XYZ. No, this is something you dedicate that time for. Spend an hour a day. Watch an episode. I dare you. Now that it is streaming all 10 episodes, I dare you to watch one episode and walk away. I loved my Shogun Tuesdays. I'm going to miss my Shogun Tuesdays. But man, I'm kind of glad that we had it, because if we got this dropped all at once, I don't think it would have been the phenomenon that it would be. It still would be a masterpiece. It would still be a great piece of cinema, but we would not have gotten that build up. Having everybody talking about it that Tuesday or Wednesday after it airs, please, if you're semi-interested in great drama, great period pieces, watch Shogun. But guys, that is all I got time for today. And with that, Shep Talk is going to give Shogun 5 Sheps out of 5. Did you watch it? Let me know down in the comments down below. Am I overblowing it? Am I hyping it too much? Did you just not like it? What did you not like? What did you like? I'm going to say pretty much all on board. 99%. Love this great piece of cinema. Do yourself a service. Watch it. But that is all I have time for today, folks. Thank you for watching. If you haven't done so already, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. It does help my channel out greatly, and I do truly appreciate it. But this is Darth Shep, signing off.